My husband was talking about his previous marriage at a friend's gathering. He mentioned that if his deceased wife walked through the door right now, he would pick up where they left off. I'm 34F, and my husband is 37M. He was married once before me. She was his high school sweetheart. They started dating in their junior year, survived long distance during college, and got married when they were both 23, shortly after graduating. Tragically, she passed away unexpectedly at age 26 from an aneurysm, which devastated him, especially given their young age. They never had children. He contemplated remarrying because he was so heartbroken, but we met about 4 years after her death. We got married when I was 31, and he was 34. And we now have 2 children together. Last night, we were at a friend's potluck gathering. Everything was going well, until one of our friends brought up a new topic related to relationships. She is newly divorced, so the conversation shifted to her experience. And others chimed in with their past relationships from high school and college. I mentioned, I never thought I would get married because my luck with men has always been terrible, until I met my husband, and I feel very lucky to have found him. After some time, my husband brought up his deceased wife. Everyone knew about his previous marriage and her passing. He was talking about her when he suddenly said, "If she walked through that front door right now, I'd pick up where we left off." Honestly, it felt like someone put my heart in a blender and punched me in the gut. Everyone in the room sensed the awkwardness that followed. To avoid making a scene, I just laughed it off, but I think it was still obvious that it hurt me. Felt like, if he still felt that way, then why were we married? I've never asked him to get over his wife. After all, I've never experienced losing a spouse or partner, so I can't fully understand how he feels. However, I would never say something like that in front of my new spouse. After the gathering, we left, and I didn't speak to him during the entire car ride home, or for most of the night. I did tell him that what he said deeply hurt my feelings, and that we could talk in the morning once I calmed down because I didn't want to say something mean. I ended up sleeping on the couch because he wouldn't leave me alone. Now, it's the next morning, and I barely slept. He is still sleeping, and I'm not really sure what to say or how he will respond. I tried to reply to as many comments as I could on my earlier post, but they were overwhelming, and I got a bit lost in them. Many comments brought me to tears of joy and gratitude. Just to clarify, alcohol was not a factor. He wasn't drunk. My husband is 6 feet 3 inches and almost 250 pounds. He had eaten quite a bit and had 1 beer, so he was practically sober. We talked this morning, and I asked him to let me go first and not interrupt. He usually doesn't interrupt anyway. This isn't verbatim, but here's a rough outline of how things went. I told him, "I do not hate you for what you said. I understand where you were coming from. She died, and it was something neither of you saw coming. I could never ask you to get over her, or forget her, because I know how much you loved her. She was your first love. I understand that if she hadn't passed, we likely would not be together, and you two would probably be." I've always understood this. But to say what you said really hurt my feelings and embarrassed me. Even though her coming back from the dead is impossible, if it were to happen, I feel like you would leave me and the children. That was one of the worst things anyone has ever said to me. It's clear your feelings about her are still raw, and I want you to get counseling. I also want us to go to couples counseling very soon. He then apologized profusely, tearing up and expressing how he didn't mean to hurt or embarrass me in front of our friends. He said he thought about it before going to sleep and realized he should have kept it to himself. I can't be angry about what he thinks. He loved her, and his feelings are valid. He also reassured me that he would never leave me or our children, and acknowledged that what he said was a poorly thought out, poorly worded statement that he didn't think through clearly when he said it. I asked him how he would feel if I said what he did to him. He replied, "Yeah, it's bad. I know I shouldn't have said it. I wouldn't be happy, and I know you aren't happy. I should have apologized in front of everyone as soon as I said it, or not have said it at all." I then prompted him to think of the children and said, "It's like you saying, 'Hey, kids, if my dead wife walked through the door, I'd pack my bags and never speak to you guys again.' After that, It got really uncomfortable. There was a long silence, and I didn't know what to say next. He asked me if I wanted a divorce, so I asked him why he thought I would want one, just to see what he would say. He said he didn't know. I didn't answer his question, and told him we needed to look into counseling. I said he needed to get counseling for himself, and that we would go to couples counseling. If his answer is no, then I am not interested. In moving forward, this isn't just about the comment anymore. I need to know if he is willing to make the necessary changes and put in the work to fix what he messed up. If he dismisses my feelings or doesn't want counseling, it means he doesn't think this is serious and may not take me seriously. Some comments suggested that I take the kids elsewhere, and I agreed with this. It would be difficult to work through this while also parenting. I have a very young daughter and a toddler son, who are currently with my parents for the weekend. I'll be getting them back Sunday night, so this gives us time to really work on things. He suggested that he sleep on the couch instead of me. I have nowhere else to go. I haven't told my parents because I want to keep this between me and him as much as possible. Family and friends tend to judge too quickly and sometimes offer extreme and harmful advice, which can be embarrassing. Luckily, we both have very good insurance that will help with counseling. I told him it seems like whatever counseling he got after her death wasn't enough, and he wasn't consistent with it like he should have been. With trauma like that, I personally would have been in counseling for years before even considering remarrying. He agreed, saying he was only in it for about a year and then stopped once he moved away from his hometown. He never got back into it. He also agreed to both individual and couples counseling, kept apologizing, and kept telling me he loved me all day. It was really difficult to be around him because he kept looking at me. I couldn't think. It was like he tried to say something, but just stared without saying anything. With the kids gone, there was nothing much to do except talk, so we talked again right before dinner. He asked if I wanted him to cook or buy something. I still wasn't hungry, to be honest, so I told him he could pick something up for himself. That prompted our second discussion. He realized I must feel very bad because he noticed I hadn't really eaten much all day. He kept asking me to eat. I wasn't sulking or anything. I was just doing my usual tasks, but speaking and eating less. Because we were home together all day, he noticed this and asked me one more time to please eat dinner with him, so I agreed. During dinner, he told me that he looked for counselors himself and wanted me to see if I thought they were okay enough, and that he would keep looking. I told him that we can't really predict anything until we've met with therapists. I don't want him to keep saying sorry. I want work and change, and then maybe we can move forward. But this is the first step. I don't want to just leave him. I am also not saying divorce is off the table. I think he is still hurting from her death, and his judgment is very clouded. If he didn't love me, I doubt he would have apologized so many times and looked for counselors on his own. A man who doesn't love me would probably have made me look or rejected, going altogether. Many people suggested I should leave. I don't think he doesn't love me. I've thought about this myself and cried about it, and cried more when I thought of my children. I'm not staying for the kids. I'm staying because I want to at least try to fix this. If it cannot be fixed, then at least I tried. We were also very close before marriage, which some people were asking about to gauge the difference between their relationship and ours, to see if he settled. He was always very romantic, caring, and sweet to me. We've never yelled at each other. When we first started dating, he would plan dates, surprise me, and brag about me to his friends. So that's why I am very confused about why he would blurt that out, unless it was just a case of poor brain-mouth coordination. I also told him that I might get a counselor for myself. I don't think I need one. Someone suggested this, but I think he needs it more than I do, because insurance companies are getting worse every year. 3 counseling bills might be pushing it. If I do get one, it's because I don't want to potentially resent him or doubt myself. Some people were trying to make me doubt myself, and some comments were very nasty. I appreciate Reddit hiding comments with many downvotes as they can be mean, but I couldn't help but click on some. Some of you are very mean and nasty individuals, and I hope you find happiness one day. There could be another update in the future. I'm not opposed to making one. Thank you all for your kind words and support. I've also responded to everyone who texted me, which was everyone at the potluck who has my number. There were 9 people there, not including us. They all basically said the same thing. They can't believe he said that. They feel bad for me, and they asked if everything is okay. What he said was not okay, etc. He showed me some of the texts from his friends, and some made me cry with how kind they were being towards me. They told him he wasn't necessarily wrong for thinking that, but was wrong for saying it. I told him I loved him as well, and that I have never not loved him. Even for a second, I wasn't angry with him, and didn't want him to suffer for what he said. But I was just hurt, and needed him to know that it did hurt me. I let him respond how he saw fit, and we'd go from there. That is all for now. I tried to answer some of the more frequently asked questions that I saw. Again, sorry for this being so lengthy. Have a nice weekend everyone, and thank you again. Next story. My roommate told me to date her friend, then got jealous and made my life a living hell, so I moved out. But now she wants me to pay all our apartment debt. I-29B was renting an apartment with my friend Jess 33F. From October 2023 to October 2024. We had been very excited to move in together, and really enjoyed living together for the first few months. During those first few months, I was introduced to a friend of Jess, Ash28NB. Jess told us that she really liked our friendship and encouraged us to date, stating that we would be a cute couple. In March 2024, I double-checked with Jess that it was okay, and I began going on dates with Ash. However, almost immediately, it became a problem for Jess. No matter how much Ash and I prioritized spending time with Jess one-on-one, giving her undivided attention, and spending time as a group, it created a huge rift in our friendship. Jess is diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, so Ash and I went to great lengths to listen to Jess's therapist, and follow their advice, to make it as easy for her as possible. It didn't help. Jess became extremely depressed and unpredictable, and I had to intervene and monitor her often any time Ash came over. Even though it was agreed upon that Jess would be okay with Ash visiting, she would have meltdowns, scream at us, slam the door, or leave in a dramatic way. She was even hallucinating, and would yell at us in the middle of the night, accusing us of being too loud during red spicy time, even if we were literally asleep, or just watching TV. This left me feeling unsafe and uncomfortable in my apartment. In June, I started spending more and more time at my parents' or at Ash's house, especially on days I didn't work. I still tried to keep in touch with Jess and see her often, and I never tried to shame her or blame her for any of this. I understand that her trauma and mental health are not her fault. I am also disabled, which Jess knew before we moved in together. I had a very good and consistent job, but in August, I had an incident related to my disability that left me in the hospital for 3 weeks. After that, my doctors told me I am no longer able to work at all, so I ended my employment and applied for state and federal disability income. I used my savings to pay rent in July and August, but I had no income until the disability cleared. After that, I told Jess in July that I would not be coming. I returned to the apartment only to move out, and I did my best to pay my rent for September and October. However, if it turned out that I couldn't pay, I accepted responsibility for the debt when our lease ended. I also know enough about local laws to understand that she couldn't evict me before our lease was up, even if I didn't pay, due to the amount of time I kept in touch and provided updates about my health and the status of my disability income. I wanted to keep her informed and ensure she had all the information I had. In August, I told her I would not renew the lease, and in September, I formally gave my intent to vacate the apartment 2 weeks before it was due. Jess, however, decided not to vacate, and instead tried to find a new roommate for a new lease in the same unit. Unfortunately, Jess was unable to find a roommate and ended up having to vacate anyway without giving proper notice. I wasn't able to pay rent for both those months since my state benefits didn't start until November, and I was still waiting for federal benefits. When our lease ended, I went to sign a contract with the apartment to relieve Jess from the debt, but I discovered that the debt was much higher than what I owed. I should have owed $, but the office informed me that the debt was closer to $3,600. The apartment provided a ledger of our payment history, showing that Jess never paid her rent in October. Additionally, they explained that, because neither of us gave notice on time, they would be doubling our debt. Their lawyers have all the paperwork now, and I can discuss it with them once they contact me. Until then, there's nothing more I can do. They even think the lawyers can potentially undo the doubled fee because of my disability status. But I have to wait to hear from them. I asked Jess to meet because I'm not willing to pay her unpaid rent. Nor am I willing to cover the entirety of the doubled debt, since she is the one who failed to turn in notice. I told her I would work to get the doubled fee cancelled, but we needed to agree on the debt owed by each of us. I also mentioned that if they still doubled it, I would work with her to prevent her from being stuck with a huge bill. However, I shouldn't be responsible for the whole amount either. When we met, Jess accused me of abandoning her and said I wasn't taking responsibility for anything, insisting that I should pay the entire bill because it was my fault. I told her I felt responsible for my debt only and that I had communicated with her throughout this situation. Now, she claims that I screwed her over and that I'm a bad person. I admit I lost my temper and said things I regret, including that I didn't abandon her and that she drove me out of my home. My disability made it easier for me to stay away, and I acknowledge that I shouldn't have said that. I know I lost control of myself in that moment. My parents and my partner are advising me to pay only my share of the debt and to try to cancel the doubled fee. They believe Jess needs to see that her actions have consequences. But I worry that leaving her with a multi-thousand-dollar bill will financially ruin her. If I only pay the rent I owed, she would be left paying up to $15,000. If they don't drop the doubling of the debt, please help me with this situation. I'll provide some additional context that I had to repeat multiple times in the comments of my last post. First, I provided formal notice to vacate via email directly to the apartment 2 weeks before notice was due. I thought I had made this clear in the original post, but it seems I hadn't, considering how many people asked about it. Second, I'm not posting this story to hate on or belittle people with BPD. I shared Jess's diagnosis for context. But if you're seeking a place to criticize people, please don't do it here. Third, I still do not have federal benefits. I only receive state benefits, which are less than $500 per month. Fourth, I have my own legal team for my SSI application, and separately for my issues with the apartment. Now, on to the update. Last I posted, I was waiting for communication from the apartment's legal team to understand what could be done. Last week, I received communication from their property management company, directly instead. They provided me with a ledger of the debt and added fees. I worked with my legal team, and we were able to fight them into removing the double charges they had imposed. Several cleaning fees, carpet replacement fees, trash removal fees, etc. My parents and I went to the apartment on the last day of our lease and cleaned it very thoroughly. I requested photographs of the apartment upon their entry. Based on those photographs, it seems that Jess entered the unit after we left and damaged it pretty severely. This would have happened before I even tried to discuss how to split the debts. I went over everything with my lawyers and informed the apartment complex of the total share I'm willing to pay, which includes my unpaid rent, some admin fees, and a few other minor expenses. It's roughly $2,600. They said they understand but have no way of enforcing who pays what. I acknowledged that and assured them I would work within the bounds of the system. They helped me set up a payment plan that accommodates my minimal income since I'm only receiving state disability benefits. I emailed Jess the ledger I received, just in case she hasn't been notified, and broke down item by item what share I would pay and what balance that left her with about $2,500. Unfortunately, if she refuses to pay, my lawyers have advised that I will have to pursue it in civil court. I have more than enough documented history to support my case. That's all for now. I'll update again if anything interesting happens. Update 2. It has been several months since the lease officially ended, and I have made arrangements with my lawyers and the apartment complex. They waived the extra fees they were originally trying to charge us, but added some other fees because Jess trashed the place. I sent an email to Jess outlining what I agreed to pay. Jess's initial response to that email was, "Thanks for the trust issues," which I now find hilarious in retrospect. I have Jess blocked on all platforms except for email, and informed her that we would only be in contact when strictly necessary. I have been in contact with the apartment, and am on a payment plan. I still have not been approved for federal benefits, and receive very little in-state cash benefits, but I use a small portion every month to make payments toward my debt. I receive an emailed receipt every month as proof of my payments, and I can also log into a portal to see how much debt is still owed and how much has been paid off. So far, it seems that Jess is also making payments, as the total debt is decreasing by more than the amount I am paying. I assume she is on a payment plan as well. I wasn't really planning on updating again, since things seem to be going as smoothly as I could possibly expect after everything else that went down. However, last month I got an email from Jess that showed just how disconnected she is from reality. She emailed me stating that she noticed I hadn't been in touch with her or our case manager about making any payments. She called me unreachable and mentioned that there was this massive debt hanging over her head since I abandoned her. I informed her that she could see the payment progress being made by both of us on the portal, and reminded her that she is welcome to reach me by email about anything related to this financial situation. I thought you might find this both funny and sad. Unless things get dramatic, I doubt I will ever be updating this story again.